here. I keep reaching for a pen.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Dave. Hey, Richard. How you guys doing?
Hello.
We'll give it a couple more minutes here because everybody kind of drags in right at the last minute.
Yeah. Microsoft Teams is doing what it does.
Yeah.
Dave, your camper's still looking good. I've had to go to Osteen a couple of times in the past week.
Oh, yes. And you know what? It's been a blessing because, obviously we don't want to stay in too many public places. That thing's been great. Got our own little resort on wheels.
Yep.
Hey, there you go.
Brian, you got all the studios built yet?
Not quite all. No, I got a few and a plan.
Well, I hope I can visit in a couple of weeks. I'm going to come down at the end of the month. I'll probably be then roaming around Florida for a couple of weeks.
Cool.
All right.
We'd be happy to have you swing by.
Okay. Well, we're 12:35. I guess we can get rolling here. Wow, this is a CMG heavy group here. So, but hey, here we go. So welcome to 2021. Just kind of rinse and repeat of 2020 so far. Anyway, a few things on the agenda here. Just a reminder, the membership notifications are going out. I'm sure everybody's gotten theirs. If you haven't, it'll show up there sooner or later in the snail mail, and probably your email. I think I saw an email pop in from SBE corporate about that.
Yes, it did.
So, one other thing here, meeting attendance. It was a little weird, and I talked with can't remember his name now, up at the main SBE office about attendance and tracking, and they weren't really picky about it last year, but I think as we get through these get this virtual stuff down pat, they might go back to checking that. And of course, if you're certified, you want to make sure you got your meeting attendance. So I'm open to any suggestion. I'm trying to figure out a good way to figure out how we do attendance here without a sign-in sheet. But for now, if anybody can, just shoot me an email. Or reply to the email announcement there that you were here, and I could see most everybody that's here. We've had longer lists, and unfortunately, we've had shorter lists. But I just want to make sure everybody gets credit for attendance there, especially if you've got certification. So, and like I said, if somebody's got an idea for a virtual sign-in sheet, hey, that'd be a great idea. So, and let's see, the next couple, kind of a question for the group. The virtual meetings, the afternoon time seems to work for everybody. Mm-hmm. The virtual meetings, obviously it's something we have to do right now or have had to do. But as things start to get opened up a little bit more, maybe later in the year, hopefully, fingers crossed. Do we want to keep doing these as virtual, or at least, and this doesn't have to be determined now. I'm just kind of throwing it out there for future planning. Keeping a virtual element, like making sure we're connected to Teams, and hey, anybody that can make it to a central location, great. If not, you can sign in through Teams or Zoom or whatever. Does that seem like something worth pursuing and looking how we set that up?
Jeff, I think it's a good idea. Maybe it'll increase our attendance and number of participants as well. So maybe if we'd alternate months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to keep both.
Yeah, I'd like to keep both too.
Virtual is a good way, especially for like presenters, for like Jay, makes it a little easier than the travel around. But on the other hand, if Jay's got some pretty cool stuff that we could put our hands on, it's kind of nice to have some of the meetings in person. And then the field trips that we've done in the past, those always are good, where we get to go places. And I know we did the one at Universal. Another one of my favorites was, I think you did the tour, Jeff, of the Amway Center. Those things are really good.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
kind of a mix of everything.
All right.
I think you might leave it up to the presenter for the month if they can make it here, or if they can't, we can get more presentations virtually.
Yeah. I think we've had some really good ones too, and stuff we wouldn't normally get to see. So, okay. Like I said, it's just kind of throwing that out there, thinking about future planning. So, all right. And then next month, after we talk about having these in the afternoon, I talked with Frank and with the next month's SEMTI meeting, which is on the same day we normally have our SBE meeting, just at 7 p.m. our old time. They're doing a presentation on ATSC 3.0. Joe Daly's putting this together with their station over in Tampa, and we're going to get a kind of a virtual tour and explanation of what they're doing, because they're the lighthouse station for that market. So kind of interesting to see what, a little bit of how the sausage is made, because this is coming to Orlando for those that don't already know. So looks like it will be an interesting tour, and we talked about just doing this as a combined meeting, so we'll have other details going out about that. So, and that's all I have as far as any new business. Does anybody else have anything additional? Any old business?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I can think of, Jeff, would be we still are looking for a volunteer to help out Lou on his frequency coordination and program.
Okay.
A little reminder, if we can get, I think he was saying he was releasing his responsibilities, or trying to, as far as program.
Yes. And I need to talk with Ed Cathera too, because he was in a similar vein.
Was he? Okay.
I think so, but I he's still doing some planning up there in Jacksonville, and has always been willing to help us out. Obviously, he just hasn't been double booking everything unless we've needed it. So,
they both have been doing it for a long time. They did it when I was chapter chairman, 12 years ago. They were still doing it then. So that's a lot of years to be booking them. And
oh yeah,
I understand if they want a break.
Also looking for a treasurer.
Oh, okay. That's old business.
My mic's muted.
Okay. Actually, jumping back to kind of newer business, for our website there, I got an email from Mike Spry regarding the domain renewal, and I think we kind of mentioned this in the past, but it was never really urgent. And I know our website is really in some sad shape. Nate, I just keep him too busy at work on his day job. So it's my own fault. But any thoughts on just transitioning to like a Facebook page? I kind of set one up, but it's tied to my personal account. Obviously, I would shut that down and do something a little more like a professional page. And we do have a little bit of money invested, and if we wanted to keep the domain, we could probably just do kind of a single page of information and just point everything to the Facebook page.
That would probably work. I think just having one probably would be a little limited, and we got a lot of the old school guys that would appreciate a website presence.
Okay.
I might be interested in helping you out with a web page if it's not too complicated about a website.
All right. Well, we can chat about that. And oddly enough, the guy down the hall from you has all the details. So
Cool. I can work that out.
All right.
so yeah,
I'll get
well,
with them, take a look.
we'll put something together, and then maybe next month we can do kind of a bigger, hey, here's what we got presentation wise. I know he's got a page built. It just hasn't gone live. So all right.
I'll get with them on that.
Okay. And I guess anything from our committees? I don't see anybody on here. Any of the committees? All right. And if you give me half a second, I'll bring up the Treasury report, which is just a carryover from the end of the year. And it's $6,098.71 is what I have on mine. And I do need to pull a bank statement to reconcile that. I have not done that yet this year. So
Yeah, go ahead. If you could send that to me, Jeff, then I'll put it in our meeting notes.
I will.
Thank you.
Okay. One last check for anything new or old business-wise. All right. Well, then with that, any, all right, we can adjourn our meeting and hand everything over to Jay.
And it's been second.
Great. Well, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you guys inviting me here. And there's a lot of familiar faces, so I'm not nervous. Not that I would be. I do want to, you guys actually mentioned something, and you guys were talking about your meeting to start things off today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we got through the pandemic. I'm going to show you the tools that are available to radio and TV stations for remote operation. I'm going to tell you about how the pandemic actually affected some of the product development that we had going on at Wheatstone, and how we sort of, changed directions. And then I've got a quick, I'm going to take 2 minutes, and I'm just going to show you the stuff we would have introduced at NAB, just to give you guys some ideas. I know Jeff Steele actually bought a product. I saw a purchase order come in from BGS a couple weeks ago, something Jeff bought that, unfortunately, because I wasn't able to come to your SBE last year and do demos and things, it was nice getting an order for something for that I've never actually shown anybody. But as Steve mentioned earlier, you guys about having meetings, virtual and live meetings, from somebody who's been doing these things for 25 years at SBEs, I would say most of the people in my shoes are ready to get back out in the field. When I come to a meeting, and if we were having this meeting at Cox Media today, I probably would have shown up about 9 o'clock, 9:30 this morning. I would have worked with Ben, Brian, and Jeff, just showing them things with the systems they own. I would be on my phone with support, making sure things are good. And then probably I'd get in the car and head over to the iHeart or another facility in town that afternoon. So I would encourage you to try to invite manufacturers down, because we're just not pretty faces behind these Zoom meetings or team meetings anymore. Some of us actually really like to get in the field and get involved. And frankly, that's how we develop products. That's how I know what to build. That's how I know what's coming next, or I can give to the owner of the company or our VP. or our guys that are out there doing commissionings. You know, it's the engineers and the talent that really drive our innovation in our product development. I wish it was like all of us smart people here, but you know, we've got to where we are at Wheatstone based on feedback that we've gotten from the industry. And I think it's really, really important that we can still get out and do that kind of face-to-face and show you guys stuff. And as you know, when you're looking at a mixer or you want to get somebody involved, there's something about the feel, the touch, the smell, that human interaction. So from a perpetual sales guy, I guess my pitches to you guys is to get as many people coming out as you can, and let's try to get back to normal as possible. On that note, so regarding your meetings and the virtual things, we're all spooled up to do the virtual things, but it's to us, I'm just telling you, it still feels a little bit different. And you guys like it?
It's getting warm on the. I'm thinking if we put it on that. I'll go put it on that tower back there. I was gonna say, turn the tower on. All right, thank you. You got it, man.
Oh, Jeff, you need to mute your mic probably. Okay, sorry, I was just listening to Jeff. All right, so when everybody asks me, you know, how did Wheatstone get through the pandemic, or what did Wheatstone do to get to the pandemic? And my first answer is Wheatstone didn't do anything. Every radio and television engineer in the world is the reason that we were able to get through the pandemic. There was still boots on the ground. We had lots of you guys in the field. There may have been, you know, engineers on the other end of computers. There may have been engineers on site. But for those first few weeks in the major markets, it was a scramble. And it was a scramble for you guys. It was a scramble for the codec guys. And it was a scramble for console manufacturers. It was real interesting to me that realized that a lot of our customers didn't know what they owned. And which is a testament to the technology. A lot of guys put Wheatstone in, their guys use it. We set up the automation system, TV, radio automation system, the switching happens, and it's been doing it for years. So when we first started getting phone calls, we had applications I'm going to show you and discuss. There were some applications we didn't have at all that we actually had to build. But one of the things that I found out that there was a lot of uncertainty in the industry with what they had, what had the ability to be remote controlled. And another thing we saw was your systems updated so you could accept these new features or these new remote interfaces we had? And I'm guessing, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, 50% of the customers, the groups, small mid mom pop groups, were not prepared. Out of anybody, and I don't think there's anybody from iHeart on the call here, but I think iHeart as a company was the most successful, or from our standpoint, the most prepared for this pandemic. And they did it for a couple of reasons. Without knowing it was coming, they purchased about 300 of those Rodecaster mixers from SCMS in January of last year. I think it was December or January. So they had an amazing amount of remote gear that they bought ahead of time to roll out for other stations. So they had this big inventory to get some home studios built up. Another product that we worked with them on was called Switchblade. And we were doing this for a while, but we made basically a 24-channel SIP codec with a company in Ireland. And iHeart guys were using that to pipe audio around from facility to facility in lieu of the Comrex or the Tie-Line or the Telos products. So these guys, as iHeart as a company, they said, well, look, we want to be able to send audio from these city to cities using our company network, and we think SIP and Opus will be the transport mechanism. And so we worked with them for a couple of years. So when the pandemic hit, we had an application that used a regular browser, which would allow users to speak into their computer microphone, hear audio back with a mix minus back from the stations with minimum delay. But iHeart was sort of set up right away to get the audio back into the station, whether it was going to be live reads or it was going to be people using production. And that was a Switchblade product. So they were pretty good as far as getting audio to and from. The next thing was control. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk out to our demo area here, and I'm going to show you some of the control options that we had in place before the pandemic, and also some of the things that we built as a result of the pandemic. Any questions at all so far? Nope. All right.
Doing good, Jay.
Great. Now, as everybody can hear me, just want to make sure I change microphones. Does it sound okay?
Yep, you're good.
Yep.
Great.
Good.
So what we have here now is, if you look at the screen for Darren's thing here, I've got what's called Remote LXC. And up here, it's called Remote LXC. And this was a program that Wheatstone introduced at the beginning of the LXC product line that would allow a board operator to remote in, grab a fader, do bus assigns like I am here, and also have that bi-directional control. So you see right there, I'm actually touching the control surface. I'm moving buttons here. I can assign things. I can unassign things. So Remote LXC really allowed an operator to do everything they would normally do at the facility, including turn audio up and down remotely. And so this was great for more of the high-end clients, the bigger Wheatstone clients, the major markets were using something like this. One of the biggest things that we found out was how you, the engineers, were going to get these folks in the programs on a computer and connected. And one of the best ways that we found still to this day was to actually have this application like I do now running on a local computer, and then somebody team view into it without getting your IT departments involved and setting up, firewalls and letting people poke in from the outside world. So usually about the first 2 or 3 days when everybody was scrambling, we were sending out this application for all the LXE users and allowing them to actually load this on their computer and then take control of the board. And mainly what they were doing at home is they were turning a mic on and off. They were doing some live reads, or they were just letting the automation system go. And I saw this in the bigger markets. The smaller markets pretty much had engineers go in, pot up a channel, and walk away. And then what we saw with those guys were these were the mid and small markets, and they may necessarily not have a system like we put at CMG there, where any of those LX24s can be remotely controlled. Brian, you guys actually had your newsroom manned, right, during the whole thing?
Yeah, that's correct. And still to this day, it was one of the most challenging stations to try to do remote because there's just so many elements and so many people and so much hands-on. We sent the anchor home and he did his part remotely, but pretty much everybody else stayed in the building.
Yeah. In the smaller market, so one of the things that IP allows us to do in the IP world is obviously, talk from box to box to box, city to city to city. We had a lot of mid and small market stations out there that were using our Wheatstone blades or a small console that didn't have enough intelligence like the LXE I just showed you to actually go out and control something remotely. So what we did realize was a lot of people in the industry were using WheatNet, and I'm launching our Navigator program now just to show you what's inside every one of these little guys. And inside every one of our blades have been these little handy utility mixers. And so basically every blade in the world has 2 of these 8-channel mixers. And yes, through our Navigator program, which is really an engineering admin program, it would allow an engineer to go in and set up a small show with maybe a microphone here on channel 1, automation 1, 2 here, and then maybe a satellite program here. And that was fine for something that was unintended. I call it a radio station in a box or your automation jukebox. We're just, switching channels, and these little mixers gave people the ability to do that. Well, for some of you that know Screen Builder, and I know Jeff Steele there has been working on his own little beautiful mixer or rendition of a remote mixer at CMG for a while. And I'm going to tell you, I probably spent the first 2 weeks of the pandemic building mixers that looked like this guy over here. We'll pop him up and it should show you this guy, which is WTOP. And so Wheatstone has always had programs that allowed people to make these virtual mixers that were essentially just controlling the hardware, the blade hardware. And these were very popular. Well, something like this takes a little bit of time. And as I mentioned to you guys, it wasn't just me, it was Phil and Darren here. We were probably logged into a couple hundred different computers over those first 2 weeks, setting the little utility mixers up like this for people so they could at least call in on a codec, do a live read in the morning, let their listeners know there was somebody live there that cared, and getting information out to the public. And these utility mixers that we call were all built-in screen builders. So every one of them was just a little bit different. And Jeff, not picking on you, but how many hours do you think you have into your mixer? Unless he's not listening. Jeff Steele? Jeff in the building? All right. Well, so that was not an efficient way for us to be spending our time, even though nobody was calling and nobody was buying consoles for about 2 or 3 months this year. So what we did, and this is a really important program because this would, for any of you guys that do contract work, any of you that take care of mid and small market stations or doing stuff like that, based on the pandemic, we launched a little program called Remix. And we were pretty proud of this guy because what it allowed the engineers to do was to point this application, which is basically a simple 8-channel mixer, to any of the blades they had in their system. And then what it allowed them to do is add a microphone, maybe some automation channels. In the event of the iHeart guys, they were actually using these little buttons here we call SLIOs. And these they wired these to their next gen machines. And this allowed a board operator with the Switchblade program to log in, to hit event number 1, and that would start the DRR or the recording in next gen. They could do their little bit, they could do another little stop here, and that would allow them to do remote production. In case of the mid and small markets, they would have their automation system basically playing through this at a nominal level throughout the day. And then for a codec or something on the way back, they would pot up a microphone here, and their remote talent could turn on and off and do a remote read. They've actually, some of the engineers that had the time to be at the station, they would wire these stops off to enable the hybrid or to enable the telephone callers. So not only does this little program called the Remix give the guy some audio mixing remote capability, but we also had some SLIOs, which are virtual logic ports, tied to Remix, and it allowed the people to come in, start and stop, and do stuff remotely in the building. And I think during the pandemic, we sold about 300 copies of this Remix in a few months. So that was one of the big things that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic. And what we did afterwards is when things settled down, we sent out letters to everybody saying, hey, if you want to use these tools, make sure your systems are updated. We gave away a lot of free software during that time. People that couldn't afford these Remix programs, it goes for about $300. We gave everybody a 30-day demo of Remix just to get through the first month or 2 of the pandemic. So we also have the same applications for television. I'm not going to bore you all and show you all of these, but basically every product we make right now, with the exception of the IP12, we have a remote glass interface, which is full console operation. For the guys that have little middle and small market stuff that might just have a blade, or they're using a blade as a sound card or just as a transport mechanism or a router in their facility, they were able to use this little program and turn that into a little remote mixing application just to get stuff on the air, fade things up and down, maybe put a caller on the air or put a live mic on the air. So that was pretty much what Wheatstone did for the first 90 days of the pandemic. We got people remote connected, we got them the software they needed, and then in this little Remix program that came out about 30 days later, it was just specifically built for everybody out there to give access to those utility mixers and the blades without giving the remote people access to the navigator, or we say the keys to the kingdom. So that's, like I said, so Remix just controls. We point it to one of these little mixers, and it's a remote app that allows you to do remote mixing. And like I said, a lot of the things that we did, we ran these programs locally on computers at the station, and then the board ops or jocks or engineers would use any of their fancy remote desktops, team viewers, PC Anywhere to log in to control them. And the reason we did that is because, remember, all of the, whether it's us, it's Axia, Lavo, this is multicast. So just going in and changing ports and routing multicast through your facility not so much for the TV guys, but for the radio guys, it's been a challenge. So that's why we've always recommended, let's put the applications in on the computer, let's get them connected remotely. That way, it was just a lot easier for everybody to set everything up that way. So that's pretty much it, what we did for the remote connections and how Wheatstone got through the first 90 days of the pandemic. Any questions on that before I show you a quick slideshow? No? All right. Cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take you guys through, it'll take me about 1 or 2 minutes to go through what we've done for as far as new products that came out. Can everybody see my Wheatstone screen here?
We still have the same, yes, we still have the utility mixer up.
Okay, so let's share this. I'm gonna stop sharing this guy here. There we go. And let me go to Teamskin, and you guys can't see that. I gotta share this real quick. So now we're going to share open tray, and we're gonna go here. Cool. So everybody can see this little guy now, right? Yeah.
There you go. Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Yep, we got it.
All right, cool. So look, we were going to introduce it. I'm going to whip through this really quick. If anybody wants me to send them this program, this presentation, you can, but you're recording it as well. Something that we saw that there was a need for, mid small market headphone panels. So this is a little headphone amp that we built under the Audio Arts brand. Here's another little smaller one. This one's tabletop. It's got some buttons on it, so you could do a cough button, a remote on off or something like that. These guys are really, really basic. I think this is what Jeff bought the other day. Gets a little wall wart. We've got some audio that goes in. You can daisy chain them. Great little quiet headphone amplifiers for anybody that just needs to monitor something. Then we had Blade 4, and Blade 4, guys, was in the work before way in the works before the pandemic. One thing that we actually added to Blade 4 after we were talking after the pandemic hit, and we realized that we had some extra horsepower, was some codec ability. So I will use CMG as an example now, and I know everybody has codecs. We got Interplex, we got Tie-Line, we got Comrex. But for those people that have Wheatstone blades, or let's say in Cox, if we got Jacksonville, now we've got Orlando, we've got Tampa and Miami. We realize that you guys are going to want to share audio between each other outside your codec world. You might want to control boards, turn channels on and off, or control routers at other ends for HD2s and 3s. And some of the things that we did in Blade 4 is we've made some new hardware for the blades. We've put a couple codecs in there. We've made them more and more AES 67 tolerative, so we can stream more packets in and out of our blades when working with third-party devices. As I mentioned here, we've put a codec in there, and the codec wasn't so much to compete with the other guys as it was for monitoring. So as Blade 4 start to ship this summer, you'll find in there we've got some AAC and we've got some codecs that we use Opus or AAC, and that allows us not only to stream audio from city to city, but we can also stream our control mechanism and our ACI, and that allows for remote control of consoles or remote control of switching. It also will allow me to call from Orlando to call a Jacksonville unattended operation, look at the status of the router, bring that status back to Orlando, and make intelligent decisions based on that using low latency codecs that are built into the blade. We saw a need for this after the pandemic. We also saw a need for people to monitor stuff. As I said earlier, when I was using our remote software, we were using third-party codecs to get audio back to the talent, or they were listening to the local radio station. But that was something that wasn't in our toolbox ahead of time. So the codecs were a big, big advantage of Blade 4. These are just little codec screens we've got here. You can control them from the front of the blade, and eventually we're going to have some new blade software, HTML5 interfaces and things like that. So for those of you who are looking at products going out, this is the new blade, and this is Blade 4. And what makes Blade 4, each one of them unique, is they've all got an HDMI port on them. They've all got a USB import. We have input. We have dropped the DB connectors. I love the DB connector, but we just we ran out of real estate here. So everything now on the future blades is going to be RJ45. These blades can also be fully compatible with the systems you already have. You update your existing system, plug these new blades in. two big things that were an advantage here on this Blade 4 hardware, gentlemen, were the dual gigabit network ports. People want hitless switching. They want to feel comfortable that if a main switch dies, they've got a path to another switch, so we're not going to have interruptions in our operation. The other reason we had to put the dual NIC on there, as I mentioned earlier, everything in our world is multicast. So on port A, everything's streaming around the Wheatstone network, mixing, audio processing, everything's great. But now when we want to enable the codecs, we actually need to get to the outside world. So there's another reason that we have that Ethernet B on there. If you don't need the Ethernet B, we can wire these both to two different switches or to the same switch and have hitless switching. So that was a big advantage. And then the redundant power supply. So here's our, with the networking ports, we can use our native a quarter millisecond. We can take a millisecond packet in. We can take a 5 millisecond packet in. I'm not sure how many of you on the other end of this call right now use AES 67. A lot of you guys picked a system years ago and you're just sort of going with it now, and we take care of all of that. I will tell you what we've seen a lot out there is 1 millisecond. Over here, this guy, lots of 1 millisecond packets. Natively, Axia and Wheatstone will run at a quarter millisecond. All right, we use lots of these tiny packets. It keeps everything locked together. We're all using dedicated DSP hardware to do this, so we can handle that. But when you start looking at the new products that are coming out from third-party vendors, like I want to say like Comrex, for example, they have their new multi-stack unit that only uses AES 67. Because there's a motherboard in there, it can't spit out a ton of quarter millisecond packets. So now what we saw is a lot of these devices coming out here. Anything that's running on a PC or on a motherboard is going to be using this 1 millisecond packet. And some actually use a 5 millisecond packet. So we're actually, in our new hardware, we're able to, just like you would be with a sample rate converter, we're able to up convert and down convert. And we're just more acceptable to these outside, because the standard says any one of these four are applicable. And one of the things that we're able to do in Blade 4 is to do those up conversions and down conversions on the different packet rates. Finishing up here, we've put some more metering in here. We've put dual power supplies in Blades. It just gives you a little bit more hardware. Blade 4 wasn't really asked for from our customers, but we saw the need as this AEX 67 was spinning up, and we saw the need for more conversion. We needed more hardware, so that's where Blade 4 came from. The last thing I'm going to show you guys is we do have a new control surface. It's based off our big LXE, and it's a smaller version of our LXE using the latest and greatest technology. Pretty much everything Wheatstone makes right now is Linux based. We've gotten rid of basically everything Windows based that we used, or RTOS has gone away. So whether it's our blades or our surfaces now, everything's running Linux. And this new GSX is just a step down for more mid and small market radio. Small television could easily use the GSX. One thing all of these new boards have is oodles and oodles of mix minus. Sometimes we give you 4 buses, plus we'll give you a mix minus for every single fader on the board. So when you're looking at new stuff, think about mix minus and the utilities and what you actually need. I will tell you what I've seen over the years. We've got big requests for people to do stuff with custom screens, put your own logos on them, put your own metering on them. We've spent a lot of time doing this and making all these widgets for these boards. And so pretty much here's what a GSX would look like in a major facility now. We've scaled it down for our big guys, and we feel that it's got everything that you need at the front end for the sports station or for the operator. Then again, we put a lot of things in the background of these boards, a lot of scripting, a lot of remote control. And basically the GSX is a simple, non-intimidating console that anybody can use that will allow you to grow into features. You can add scripting, you can change the colors of the buttons, but it was just something that we did during the pandemic here to keep our folks busy. So you'll see Wheatstone advertising the GSX more and more, but it's just another mid-level console that we put out in the industry using the latest and greatest technology, just because like you guys update your computers and your video routers and your automation systems. the stuff that we design and we developed with here is becoming obsolete. So you're going to see us turning over products more and more just so we can take advantage of the latest, greatest technology and chipsets that are available to us. So any questions on any of this, gentlemen?
Hey,
Hey,
Jay,
Jay.
it's Jeff in Orlando.
Hey, man.
Hey, man, sorry I wasn't ignoring you before. I had a tower crew talking to them one year. And I was trying to mute them, and then I muted the phone. I don't know how to use the phone. I got a question on the old Blade 3s
Yeah.
with the DB25s.
Uh-huh.
I've got a whole system committed with those, using those DB25s with breakout cables.
Uh-huh.
Can we still get those in the future, or is everything going to go to Blade 4 and
No, we're going to be.
we need to adjust?
No, I think what you're going to see, Jeff, you're going to be okay. Because if you told me that we were going to be doing a project at your facility now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell you 1 or 2 Blade 4s. Okay. No need, and we're going to put them in the rack room. Yes, you can use them as studio blades, but because of your system and where you guys are, I'm going to recommend that you guys keep buying Blade 3. We're going to continue to build Blade 3, and I'm going to sell you in Jacksonville and Tampa and Miami. Well, Miami's going to get all new, but I'm going to sell you guys some new Blade 4s so you can take advantage of the interconnectivity that the codec offers. But no, if you're using the DB, which for everybody on the call, we use the standard Tascam pinout on those DBs. And you can use them both, Jeff, too. Even if you got stuff wired up on the first 4 channels on the DB connector, you can use the last 4 in RJ if you want, just so you know.
Okay.
They're parallel in copper, so they'll both work. But yeah, we're going to have both flavors of blades out for a long time.
Okay, great.
Any other questions at all, my friends in Orlando?
Jay, this is Dave from Ultravision.
Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm okay, man. We need to get you guys down here to our studio because our G5s they're past due. We still have G5s.
Hey, man, you tell Dave, well, as I met you down there, I tell Rick every time I talk to your boss, I tell him we got to get you new boards.
Oh my gosh. I mean, they're just great products. They're probably too good. They still.
Those are fit. Look, guys, I'm going to tell anybody with 15-year-old hardware from me.
Yes.
Replace it. It's 15 years old.
I know. Even if it does still work right.
Yeah, I know. And look, but like for example, with your G5, you didn't ask me during the pandemic, but you could build a remote application for your G5 down there.
I was thinking about asking you that, but I thought it was kind of a dumb question because this is a little too antiquated.
Yeah, but it's 15 years old, but I will say something. The TV guys, there's more radio guys here than TV guys, but I will tell you what, anytime that you see a feature on any of our radio boards or this ACI or the ability to control something, this came from our TV guys, and our radio team has benefited. But I remember we built our first IP console, and Steve Fluker, you actually came here with Charles Kinney at that time when we were looking, and the stuff that we put in Jacksonville in the early 2000s was basically scaled down TV stuff. So, your G5s, Dave, and the older G9s we sold all over Florida, all of those had some TV DNA in it.
And they did.
And the TV guys were smart, 20, 30 years ago. They were doing digitally controlled analog. So they had ways to turn things on and off and had the video companies control the matrix. And that, thank goodness for all the TV guys, because us radio guys really benefited from that. And your G5s you have are just an offshoot of the TV stuff. So look, if you ever need to get in a pinch, Dave, and you need to do something remotely, just give me a call and we'll spin some software up for you and email it to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions?
I had to step out for a second. Can you start from the beginning?
Yes. Okay. So the earth cooled, and then we had dinosaurs, and then the dinosaurs died, and then the Arabs came, and they took all the oil. I'm kidding.
Don't worry, I'll take care of him a little bit later this afternoon.
All righty.
We'll make sure he doesn't do this again.
Yeah. Does
By
anybody?
the way, Jay, that was a great trip up there to New Bern that time. It was a good eye opener of all the new stuff you were getting ready to release or were releasing.
Yeah. You guys
You
are
took
welcome.
me around on that one.
You're welcome anytime. Any of you guys. We have full awesome tours, and we're very hospitable here. We have a nice little town in New Bern, and our factory's awesome. We're still cranking stuff out every single day. So, anything else, gentlemen?
I got one for you in Orlando.
Yeah.
When you come down, are you coming by plane or by boats?
Yes, yes.
Yet to be determined.
Yes. Well,
Consider your carbon footprint before you jump on that private jet.
I will, but if it's to see you, it's worth it.
Ah. Jeez.
I will see you.
Wow.
I will say what for the guys in Orlando. I will be up in my boat will be in northern Florida, probably Jacksonville area, and this will be probably in April or May. And I'd love to have an SBE meeting there and have you all come out and take a boat ride.
Cool.
True story.
I like it.
Go visit.
Hey,
Yeah,
that sounds good.
You've
What kind
mentioned
of boat
field
you
trip.
We can accommodate that.
Yep, you guys mentioned field trip earlier. That would be a good field trip.
What kind of boat do you
Just
have?
take the St. John south. We'll meet you in Orlando.
That's right. I have a Tollycraft, Michael. I have a Tollycraft, a 45-foot Tollycraft. She's an aft cabin motor yacht. Great boat.
Nice.
Nice.
Yep.
All
So
right.
I'd love to have you all down there, but I'll be down there. Like I said, hopefully I'll be in Orlando in a couple of weeks. My dad lives not far away in Zephyr Hills, so I come down to visit, and I need to go visit the guys at CMG and anybody else that needs to see me. So
Great.
appreciate it. We couldn't do it without all you customers, by the way. I do appreciate it, and thank you for all the support. And I know it's been a tough year it started out as a tough year, but I know last year was a tough year, and hopefully everybody's getting budgets again. And man, if you just want me to come down and you want to see me, we don't care about sales that much as we do the relationship here. So anything we can do to make your jobs a little bit easier and have some fun along the way.
Hey,
If you're able to find that dock at Aunt Catfish's, the referral for that is dinner at Aunt Catfish's.
I got you. You know that.
That place is great.
Look, as soon
Great
as
place to eat.
yeah, and look, I promise you, our next SBE that I can actually physically come, we'll go to a nice restaurant. I'm looking to do like a worldwide victory lap after all this is over.
Yes. We gotta do that.
If you
That
park
sounds
it in
good.
St. Augustine right by my house, we can hit both birds with one stone, see?
You know, Ed, I'll let you guys go, but Ed, I was there on Thanksgiving. I motored down from Hilton Head all the way down to St. Augustine Inlet and came in. And then I got off the boat, and it was like the lighting of your city there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Wonderful people. The streets were packed. I loved it. So,
Hey Jay,
yes.
I've got a question. Does Wheatstone have any sort of audio logging hardware or solution? We're looking at replacing our old dedicated server. I'm seeing if there's anything we can integrate within Wheatstone.
Not yet. No, what I would say the easiest way to do it, how you can integrate most of the third-party software is with what we call our audio driver and our virtual logic. So Sterlitz and Media Touch and DJB, they all have good loggers. Michael, that's a nice boat behind you there.
Wow, look at him.
Whoa! Whose boat is that?
It's yours.
It is mine. That's a 44. That's a 44 Tolly. I have a 45.
Oh, it says it's a 45.
It's beautiful. Thank you. But no, so
And it's not Michael's boat.
okay. The Sterlitz logger, the OMT logger, and the DJB logger all will allow you to put an audio software on that server, and then either take cues from on-air tallies or individual mic tallies to record as many tracks as you want. So we have a 24-channel driver. The Media Touch logger is very good, and the DJB logger. I know Telos also makes one. I forget what it's called, but but our driver works on all of that stuff. Eventually, we're making a streaming box. I forgot to tell you guys, and I'll let you go. I was like, what are we doing, and how come we don't have our logger yet? We're making what we call our Stream Blade and a streaming box. And the guy, Rick from Vox Pro, is writing it. So he's writing all these new algorithms for processing and coding. And when we get done with that, we may make a logger product from the Vox Pro stuff. So,
Sweet.
yeah. So right now, like I said, if you're using our system and you're looking at another logger, but just put an audio driver on that PC, you can get 24 channels in and out with a single cable.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions? These are good questions.
Well, looks like you covered it all, Jay.
All right. Well, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I probably ran a little long, but
No worries.
That's okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Very good
We're still in the
presentation.
window.
all right. Awesome.
No, very interesting stuff there, and we appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks again, man. We're all here if you need us. Okay.
Okay,
Thanks,
Jay.
Jay.
Thanks.
Guys, you
Thanks,
take care.
Jay.
Have a good day. Good weekend. Bye-bye.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Take it easy.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks,
You
Jeff.
mean-
Stay in touch.
All right, guys. Take it easy.
Don't forget, hey, Jeff,